name is Kayla, and I am a UI UX designer who is helping that ecosystem out with these interviews. And today I have Tony, who is on the Pico Stack team.
Hey.
So Tony is going to talk about his project, Pico Stack. Tony has already prepared a slide for us to understand better, and I can't wait for him to start explaining stuff. So please, Tony, what is Pico Stack about? You could share your screen to show your slide, please.
Thank you, Kayla. So a couple of years ago, I started working on this project, and Pico Stack today, well, it's where I try to publish everything, where I share all the source code and let people try and use it if it's useful. So what I've built is an extremely small blockchain toolkit. It turns out when I started this path, I thought there weren't enough blockchains in the world, so I created one more. And but this one is slightly different. It's focused on being small in order to counter a problem. So the problem I've been trying to fix is that each and every blockchain that we have, they are decentralized in the beginning when they are new, when there are few people, when the histories are small, but the further time goes, well, the chains, they grow, and because of the monetary value in the token, you can never actually delete or remove any histories, because otherwise you won't be able to verify a single action. So I would say the big problem today with blockchain technology is that all on-chain data has to be extremely carefully selected, because it's going to be stuck there in the network forever. And the longer it is there, the bigger the computer you're going to need to have in order to be a full node and to be a citizen in the network. So the thing is, I tried to solve this by making some trade-offs. Right. My proposed solution is client chains. I think everybody I've tried to get some feedback on about this has more or less stated this kind of madness. You shouldn't run a full node in front end. You shouldn't be running a full node on a user device. But that's the fun part. So I did some trade-offs. I removed the coin. I built a blockchain and I removed the token and the coin. Because if you don't have a coin or a token, then you don't need to keep full track of the history. And you can leave your computational resources for other kind of processing, like focusing on your application smart contract or whatever it is that your application is supposed to do. The problem with that, of course, is that it removes the monetary incentive. So Pico Stack is not about crypto tokens. It's not about making NFTs or any kind of stuff like that. I mean, you can probably connect it somehow to that, or you can definitely incorporate it with other chains, but that wasn't the reason I built it for. So what happens is that Pico, any application that is built with Pico, it runs in 100% the front end. The entire chain and the entire, pretty much all code that your application is a PWA, progressive web app. You don't need to have any additional services for it. I'm hoping to run this, all supporting it to Zig at the moment, because I want to try and run this on microcontrollers. But yeah, anyway, the main difference here is that Pico Stack is a blockchain that has a garbage collector. It means that besides letting you define the consensus for which blocks your application should accept as valid blocks. It also lets you create a secondary consensus to which blocks should be removed from the node to free up resources, free up space, and make processing less. So the network state in a classical traditional blockchain, like when you download the Bitcoin chain, you get the full history of all transactions. So you can just look on your own computer to see how much money is in each wallet on the entire network. With Pico, you can't do that. You will only ever be aware of the state that you have interacted with. So you will always have a partial state. There is no one big central state with these kind of applications. This is the fun part. Technically, you get a really cheap, well, it's a complete smart contract engine, and you get these really small, byte-wise and processing-wise tiny chains that might be there right now, but there is no guarantee they're going to be there tomorrow. My favorite one is, of course, building games or something like that. Like you build a game, an entire game session is expressed as shared. The shared state is between you and the players in this particular session. Like you have no awareness at all, and you don't care about anybody else who's playing the same game. You just play with the people in that session. That's a valid use case for PicoStack. Of course, if the session has some value afterwards, you can definitely save all the chains that created it. I mean, you can always export the Pico chains and, I don't know, put them on a bigger blockchain later if you want to. That's one use case. Second one is that's also like to prevent chain littering. Like if you have a big chain, like Web3 stuff, and it's kind of costly for you to create transactions or store lots of data on the chain. What you could do is that you can use PicoStack to identify the actual data you want to create or store, and later, when you have successfully gone through all these Pico blocks, and you see that now we have this sequence of Pico blocks that actually form financial value, whatever it is. Then you can put that on the actual Ethereum chain or store them somewhere else or just sign it off. The most interesting use case, though, that is to run Pico standalone, like not use any other chains or any other technology mixes, and create what is a network without a supernode. That's a pretty cool utopia. Not sure it's possible, but researching it. It's work in progress. As you imagine, we're not funded. We're working on it slowly. It'll be done when it's done. But we do have some progress. We recently released version 4 of PicoFeed. This is the actual data structure and block format. It's a single buffer that just grows with more and more blocks. It's an easy, user-friendly way of just creating chains. It's completely protocol agnostic, more or less zero dependencies. But the cool thing about the version 4, well, I rewrote everything. I actually managed to shrink the overhead. So a Pico block is roughly 65% smaller now than it used to be. I think there's an overhead of a little bit less than 133 bytes per block. The code shrunk as well. Thanks to GPT, I managed to actually get some feedback on it, and turns out I can express the exact same behavior with only 430 lines. That's nice. And besides that, we've also started releasing all the blueprints. I've published all the blueprints for how to build your own pickle chain or pickle stack or pickle contracts, whatever. All the stuff that I'm building. All the blueprints are now published as the POP specs. I think we're still active. Pickle feed. This release is just less than a month old. The other part that is good to know about if you want to try PickleStack and try anything of this is PickleStore. PickleStore is the smart contract engine. That is where you more or less define your app's logic and the consensus algorithm, like which block should... It's kind of the difficult part, so anybody who wants to try this is more than welcome to just come and say hi, explain what you want to do, and we'll try to help. But you more or less need to... It has like this Redux-like interface. Like if you worked with Redux before, you kind of know about validators and you know about actions and how it affects your application state. But PickleStore is what you use to create a traditional PVA, traditional web app, and instead of using the classical state handlers that you usually get, like you have this store that stores your application state, right? You define your application states using PickleStore instead, and in there you also write which rules you wish for blocks to be accepted or not, like which blocks how should a block look like in order to affect your application state. Sadly, that comes with manual garbage collection. It is so difficult that I don't know, it works. I managed to implement it, but garbage collection right now in PickleStore is a pain. So there are plans to make this a little bit easier. Sadly, it's going to require an abstraction, but we're working on something called Pickle CPU. I'm sadly don't know when this is going to be released, so feel free to help out and try out PickleStore. That would have been really helpful.
All right, thank you so much, Tony, for that rundown. That was a lot of information, and thank you for breaking it down and taking your time to explain it. So from your explanation, would you say that PicoStack is for game developers or blockchain developers, or who exactly can use PicoStack?
Definitely game developers. That's the kind of crowd I would love to attract. For blockchain developers, yes. If you're stuck with your current Web3 project and you're realizing that you're kind of digging a hole to fill the contents with, I don't know, like you're trying to dig a deeper hole to bury the earth from previous hole, like you're doing this really recursive loop that just doesn't end. You should probably come talk to me.
From your explanation, I got that PicoStack isn't a project that is funded. It's not funded. But what are the plans to get some funding in future?
So I don't really know if there's going to be any big change in funding as of now. I hope so, but it all depends on trying to connect to the right people.
That's fine. I really hope that you get the right source for funding, because PicoStack looks like an amazing project, and I know that it will grow when it's given the right opportunity. So I also remember that in your explanation you mentioned that PicoStack is fully open sourced, but how does it use Hypercore protocol or P2P?
I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So we're currently depending on Hypercore's network infrastructure. Like we're using Hyperswarm for in our own apps. Like whenever I've been doing stuff with Pickle, I've always used Hyperswarm, their DHT, their encryption protocols. I mean, it's good stuff. One of the benefits is actually that you can use PicoStack together with, it runs natively on any project that is already using Hypercore. So I'm trying to say here is that if you're already using Hypercore and you need some kind of smart contract behavior, or you need some kind of, I don't know, multi-writer behavior more or less, then Pico could actually help. And it should be without any additional dependency costs. Like it should just be the actual source code for, well, it uses more or less the same kind of ecosystem. We're part of that.
So that explains P2P connection. But you also talked about your plans, what you're getting into with PicoStack right now, like Pico Store and all of that. But are there any other goals you have for PicoStack in the future that you would like to talk about?
So I actually have two projects that I wish to build with this. There was a reason, there was a purpose to why I started building a coinless blockchain. One of them, of course, is to kind of demystify the whole blockchain scene, because if you have a chain without a coin, then you don't need to worry too much about marketing. There is no money involved. But I have two game ideas that I really wish to pursue. It's just that at the moment they are so far away from me that I don't see the point of talking about them. So I hope to reach them sometimes next 3 years maybe.
Okay, so basically your immediate goal for PicoStack is what you've already mentioned in your slides, like Pico Store and what's coming up, right?
Yeah, Pico CPU.
Yeah,
that's the next cool thing.
Exactly. Pico CPU. And then you also mentioned that, if someone wants to help out, they could, jump on board. How does someone join the community to help out?
At the moment, we hang out on Discord. That's where we talk. We're not that many. It's
all right.
It's a small group of people, so extremely welcome to join and ask questions. It's open forum.
All right, that's wonderful. Thank you for for adding this to your slide. So basically, one major way to reach you or the rest of the PicoStack community is via Discord.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Actually, I recommend saying hi to this guy. He's our current person in social relations. So if you have any questions, just poke Rocco. He's cool. Or me.
Okay.
I'm kind of
okay. So
the way I am.
okay. So PicoStack's name on Discord is Decent Labs. For anyone who really wants to join the community, please take note of that. Decent Labs. And like Tony said, say hi to him and Ronnie, because they're like the forefront men in this. Thank you very much, Tony, for taking us through your slides and explaining PicoStack to us.